Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about how to evaluate your ads and really how to take next steps with your ads. My name is Silvia and over the past 6 years, I've empowered thousands of online stores in over 35 countries around the world with knowledge designed to quadruple return on ad spend. The reason why we're talking about the review is because literally like the way you review your ads and the decisions you take based on that is literally like 90% of your success. Like, don't get me wrong, knowing where to click and how to set your ads up and how to set up your system, really important, but how to evaluate it is actually going to be 90% of your success, because based on that, you're going to be making informed decisions as a smart business owner as you are. So first of all, let's look at the first quadrant. So if you're in the first quadrant and you just started or you are working towards the first $5,000 per month consistently and predictably, what you really need to understand is you always need to start looking at your CTR link click through. As you already know, link click through. You need to be monitoring your CPM. You need to be monitoring your CPC link click. And before I tell you a little bit more what you need to do in quadrant one, let's just spend a little bit of time here. So when you're evaluating your ads and you're in quadrant one, you really, your job is to make sure that the CTR link click through is 1% and more. Ideally, you want it to be more like 2 and 3%, but anything over 1%, you know you're getting a match between the audience and the creative part that you've created. Now, cost per link click, you want to be ideally below $1. Now, for those of you, sometimes when you are starting out and you're in quadrant one, sometimes we get a really high CPM. Sometimes Facebook tells us, we don't know who you are, therefore we are kind of not really encouraging you to do many ads. We're just kind of observing who you are. So sometimes in quadrant one, it doesn't happen always, but sometimes in quadrant one, your pixel needs seasoning. So your pixel needs seasoning and warming up. So that's when you would kind of continuously just work on warming up the traffic, sending more traffic to your website, to your pixel, to drive that CPM lower. So that's really important. Now, it's also important here to start evaluating ads on your ad set level, okay? On your ad set level, I don't want to see you guys doing it on the campaign level or going into analysis paralysis on the creative ad level. We want to do that on ad set level evaluation. And that means that you are evaluating it on the audience level. So essentially you are evaluating it on the audience level. This is super important. So very important to do that. So what you are also doing in quadrant one is you are making sure that you are working to find your donkeys. Remember, the hard-working donkeys. So your mission in quadrant one is to find your donkeys. So find your donkeys. Now, sometimes when we are in quadrant one, we kind of want things to happen very quickly overnight. And unfortunately, sometimes we end up killing our donkeys. But remember, donkeys are continuously warming up your pixel. They are getting to the finish line. So your mission here is to find your donkeys. You're not going to get rich here overnight. As you know, this is not a get rich quick scheme, but you will systematically work on that consistent, predictable traffic so that you are building a business and building a system that's with you for a long time. Now, from there onwards, we're moving to quadrant two. If you are already in quadrant two, it does not mean that you're not doing this. So in this case, we're elaborating. So if you are in quadrant two, you are still focusing on this, but on top of that, we start looking at our ROAS, or return on ad spend. Okay, we're starting to look at our ROAS or return on ad spend, and whatever it was in quadrant 1, we're looking at increasing that by 2 to 3 times. Okay, we're looking at increasing this ROAS by 2 to 3 times, and how we are going to do that. So here you explore your keywords, you warmed up the pixel. So here it's really important for you to start using different lookalike audiences. So essentially your pixel is seasoned, it's got lots and lots of data, and you need to start looking for different audiences that will be really the ideal audiences for your ideal custom avatar. So at the very bare minimum, you want to do lookalike audiences of 1%, you want to do 3%, perhaps 6%, and you want to do 10% as well. So you want to set up these lookalike audiences, and you want to test them in ad sets one next to another, okay? Because you are optimizing. So you're no longer doing the fishing in the ocean just out there. You already know what ocean you are fishing in, and you are optimizing that. You're finding that smaller pool where there is going to be lots and lots of fish for you. Now, you also want to make sure in here that 80% of your budget is spent on donkeys, okay? Or 70 to 80% of your budget is spent on donkeys, okay? So these donkeys are working hard for you. They are, remember, donkeys doesn't mean that they are not profitable. They are profitable, but they might be just slightly profitable. They might not be breaking the bank. They might not be making you rich, but they are delivering the hard work for you. And for the rest of the 20-30% of the budget, you are essentially doing continuous testing, looking for horses. So continuous testing. How are you doing continuous testing? The same way you learned to do it in quadrant 1. Okay, so that's what you are doing here in quadrant 2. Now in quadrant 2, we also start with retargeting campaigns. So retargeting campaigns, what that means is essentially retargeting people who have been to your website, or they have seen certain products but they have not purchased from you, and we are retargeting them in quadrant 2, and we want about 10% of the budget, no more, because this is normally a small audience, so we want to spend just a small budget on that. All right, so after that we are moving to quadrant 3. Now, when we are moving to quadrant 3, we can start now with even more what we call audience expansion. So how do we do audience expansion? We do it in two different ways. So one way is exploring interests that we have not explored yet. So explore new interests that we have not explored yet. So here you will have already explored lots of keywords, lots of interests, but in quadrant 3, you need to start kind of thinking out of the box. What interests could be related to my brands that I have not tried yet? What different brands or influencers could be related that I have not tried yet? And also you want to start with so-called the audience expansion function from inside Facebook. So audience expansion. Now what is this? This is the button inside your Facebook ad set where when you're setting up your audience and there is expand interest targeting, and I said before, remember when you're setting up the campaign to tick that off, to leave that off. Now in quadrant 3, you can start leaving that on as a testing tool. So you can set up an ad set where you can leave that audience expansion on and then test this ad set with another one in parallel. Now, in quadrant 4, you're doing all of these 3 things, and on top of that, we are exploring what we call secondary interests. So, secondary interests or keywords. Now, what are secondary interests or keywords? Secondary interests or keywords might be things like, let's say I sell bicycle jerseys, and I've been exploring all of the sports keywords and bicycle and cycling and all of that kind of stuff, and even kind of like a sportswear. But one thing that I've observed around my avatar and with my avatar is that all of our ideal customers actually love craft beer. So, can I start exploring these secondary interests inside Facebook that have nothing to do with the actual product that I'm selling, but I've observed that there is a correlation between my ideal customer and that they're interested in this one particular thing. And if it's something like craft beer, then it would be a specific boutique group. So you could start looking for secondary interests, and then you could layer these interests. You could layer these interests with best performing audiences, okay? So layer with best performing audiences, whether it's lookalikes or best performing interest, whatever that is. Layer with best performing audiences. Yes, so essentially this is how you evaluate and move through the quadrants, okay? So whichever quadrant you're in, I know some of you guys just want to fast track. First, you always need to make sure CTR link click through is above 1%, cost per link click is below $1, and then you've explored the right keywords and audiences and build your donkeys, right? Donkeys, remember, certainty, backbone of our business. So this is how you're going to take next steps with your ads based on what quadrant you are in. With that said, guys, let's go.